guys, today's video is going to be something slightly different. It's not going to be necessarily an advice video, but it was something that was requested, and it's about the topic of thought transmission, which is a little more niche, a little bit more of like, a niche concept. It's something that actually I think is based in Neville Goddard's teaching. So I have a couple of quotes from him that I'm going to try and dissect a little bit, give my own interpretation and understanding of it, kind of open this up as more of a discussion. And feel free to, obviously, if you're more well versed in this, if you've practiced it, read up on it, do leave your comments below, because I'd love to discuss it and maybe learn a bit more, see if it's correct or incorrect for me, or if I have the correct understanding. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this. It'll be something a little bit different and new for me, because it's, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm just saying, please don't comment. You don't know what you're talking about. I probably don't fully, but from what I've learned and what I've applied in my own life and my own manifesting experience, I think I can talk on the topic a little bit. So, hopefully this is an interesting discussion. Do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. I have tons of manifestation content all the time. And of course, I'll take into consideration any requests you guys put in the comments as well. And I also offer one-on-one coaching if that's something you're interested in. If you'd like to maybe get that personalized help, I offer that. All the information is on my Instagram, LOA Coaching, or you can just reach out to me. I'll give you the information on, how to get started with coaching. So yeah, let's get into it. It's not necessarily a complicated concept, but I'm not going to speak too much on it regarding my own kind of thoughts and opinions. Again, like I said, I'm not an expert, so I don't want to misinform you guys, or perhaps I'm missing something from the concept of thought transmission. But to me, it's relatively simple. It's, again, very much along the same thread of affirming. For me personally, I much prefer just looping affirmations. It's the most simple, to the point way to manifest, easiest way to conform your own mind. So essentially, thought transmission, I think, is affirming for what you want, stating to yourself in your mind or out loud, what this person is going to do, as because you're transmitting thoughts, so it has to be a person. Could be, I guess it could be an animal. You could, try and heal your dog or cat or pet through thought transmission. Again, I'd probably just stick to regular affirming, but I suppose any specific person would count. So essentially, to me, it means you're thinking about an SP, doing something, saying something, and either posing a question to them in your mind or stating, commanding them to do something. And it's the concept that it reaches their mind straight away. And it's kind of like you're literally transmitting that thought almost telepathically to them, that, you affirming and creating that visual and stating something, kind of almost speaking it into existence, you could say, through your affirmation. It reaches them automatically. And that's the reason why I'm a little bit iffy on this, because I do think sometimes it takes quite a bit of repetition for your specific person to respond and start changing mentally or physically. And then once, that thought is transmitted to them, they have that idea and inspiration pop into their own mind, or, an idea just comes to them based on your affirmation. They act on it and they just become aware of that concept. So if you say in your mind to your SP, obviously you don't physically message them or speak to them, you are going to text me right now and ask me out on a date. You're asking me out on a date right now, and you just kind of like powerfully state it, or ask them like, don't you think you should be texting me right now? Maybe you should pick up your phone right now and text me. And I'm pretty sure that's what you're going to do, isn't it? Something like that, where you're either like asking a question about an SP doing something in your mind. That's specifically what I've seen other people do. Again, I haven't consciously practiced thought transmission as a concept. I just do my regular affirmations. So I can't speak on what the different effect would be between a normal affirmation and thought transmission specifically. But essentially, it comes down to the concept of your SP acting upon the thought you've had and acting out what you want them to do or think or say, I guess. Personally, I think this would work a lot better, just looking at it from a logical standpoint, if you're already either in a relationship with your SP, or you're in regular contact, or you're seeing them currently, because then you're already going to have a slightly more positive perception in the 3D reality. You're not going to be so mentally separated from them. You're probably going to have fewer negative thoughts because they are right in front of you. You are in, you know, physical direct contact in the 3D reality. So I think it works a bit better, and what I've seen from other people is they usually use this on people that are already, you know, in close contact with them in their life. Personally, I think it would work better because, you know, as you can imagine, you'll have slightly more positive assumptions and beliefs if you're already in contact with your SP, if they're right in front of you, you know, you'll see them act it out, or you'll be able to practice this already, and you'll understand the concepts a lot better. You'll know that, oh yeah, if I just, you know, think about my SP doing something right this moment as he's, you know, sat next to me or she's sat next to me, then they're just going to do it. Whereas if you're physically separated from an SP, I feel like it's going to maybe cause a little more resistance, be a little bit harder to you in your mind to achieve that, and maybe it cause you a little bit of doubt. I've thought of some examples that I think potentially describe thought transmission, but before I get into that, I also want to read out 2 quotes I found from Neville Goddard's writing, and I think it's literally about the law of thought transmission. So I don't know if this is a specific book in itself or just a chapter in one of his books, but either way, he does go quite in depth with thought transmission, and I found 2 useful quotes online that I think are a good representation. And this would be that a friend 1,000 miles away is rooted in your consciousness through your fixed ideas of him. To think of him and represent him to yourself inwardly in the state you desire him to be, confident that this subjective image is as true as it were already objectified, awakens in him a corresponding state which he must objectify. So here where he refers to states, I imagine he means like a mental state, of course, and it basically is saying that if you imagine, you know, an SP or a friend, as Neville's used in this example, to act or be a certain way or do something specific, he has to then act in that way. And when he says awakens in him, to me that means inspired action or just an inspired thought, inspirational idea that obviously has to come to them naturally in their own mind. Like it might just pop up as like a light bulb moment in their mind where they would think, wait a minute, I really want to text her right now, or do you know what, maybe I should go do this thing. I should go and do the food shopping instead. You know, that's an example if you're with your SP and you use thought transmission, you know, and you want them to go do the food shopping or something. So I think it usually works better in those examples just due to level of resistance and doubt that people have is going to be lower. As Neville states, it absolutely is possible to work on anyone, any specific person. He does state that, you know, you should be confident in the idea of this, how you want your specific person to be. So basically confident that your SP acts or thinks a certain way or says certain things to you. And if you are confident in that, as if it were already objectified, meaning that as if it were already in your reality, that's already the type of person they were, then they have to, what does he say at the end of the sentence? That it awakens in him a corresponding state which he must objectify, meaning that, again, the concept of no free will, that because of your assumption of him, new idea that you've created, you know, the thought you've transmitted, whatever, however you want to see it, they have to then objectify it. They have to act upon it. So I'm not the biggest Neville Goddard fan. I've just found a lot of discrepancies, you could say, and things that I don't agree with necessarily, that don't correlate with how I practice manifestation, how I personally manifested things. I find that can be a little bit complex. However, he's a great teacher and there's nothing wrong with following his work. But yeah, as I said, this was going to be more of a discussion. So I have another quote I'll read to you guys. Again, I'm not claiming this as a Neville Goddard expert. I'm just trying to dissect it from my own perception and give you guys maybe some context and examples of how I think this would be applied in reality. So next he says, all men are sufficiently sensitive to reproduce your beliefs of them. So by saying that all men are sufficiently sensitive to reproduce your beliefs of them, that essentially means that, again, no free will, that anyone is capable of conforming and changing to your beliefs about them. Therefore, if your word is not reproduced visibly in him toward whom it is sent, the cause is to be found in you, not in the subject. This isn't necessarily thought transmission, but it's essentially saying that if they don't act a certain way, or if they don't act upon what you're thinking or what you want from them necessarily, then that is caused by your thoughts and the way you think about them. It's not caused by their own perception or their own choice of how they wanted to act in a certain way. It's based on your beliefs upon them, and that anyone can change to conform to your beliefs. So essentially with thought transmission, I think you do have to come from it from a very positive, trusting perspective, that you have to understand that your thoughts and visuals in your mind that you hold, day in, day out, that you loop and repeat, and that you really have a strong visualization of, have just a very clear, in-depth understanding of what it is you want from that person, how you see that new version of them. If you can come from that really confident state, then your SP can and will, conform and start accepting those new thoughts immediately, straight away. As I said at the beginning of the video, a little bit iffy on this, because I don't think this is the rule where, if you're confident and believe in your visual, it's going to immediately impact your SP. It might create inspired actions or a visual or thought that pops up in their mind, but I don't necessarily think it will mean that they conform instantly, that they start straight away thinking they might be in love with you, or straight away wanting to text you. I feel like it could take hours or days sometimes, just because of how pertinent and strong the old story might have a hold on you. I do have two examples that I think correlate with the idea of thought transmission. So the first one is that I created my own visualization about an event that I was attending, and I kind of looped this multiple times, so it wasn't like an instant thought transmission. It was more of me visualizing, but essentially I just visualized in my mind how I wanted people to act at the event. And this was only like a week prior, and I think I visualized it 3 or 4 times. And then when it came to the event, they literally did exactly what I imagined. It's like they had the inspired action, that my thoughts, my ideas were literally transmitted into their mind, and that idea will just naturally come into their mind. They will, just have the inspired action, and naturally in that moment be like, oh, I'm gonna walk over here and I'm gonna say this to this person, or, oh, right, they don't even think it to themselves, they just naturally do it. They're like, I'm gonna drink my drink now. And literally people were just acting exactly as I imagined and wanted them to at the event. And to me, that is linked to the idea of thought transmission, because I was specifically in my mind directing people to act and do things in a certain way, and that's exactly what happened. So a more specific direct example that I think correlates to thought transmission is when this was a while ago, I think, but yeah, it wasn't particularly recent, but I think it is a good example here to mention, that I essentially commanded in my mind for someone to message me, someone to tell me something very specific, and I was like, you're gonna text me this right now. This is what you're writing. I just had a visual in my mind of a specific message I wanted to receive. I saw it in my mind and I was like, you're texting that right now. And then I kind of just like trusted in it. Again, as Neville Goddard said, being confident in the assumption, in the belief. So I was just really confident and trusting that I knew the visualization would come true because I saw it in my mind, kind of experienced it mentally as if it were real before it happened. So I knew yeah, it's gonna happen. I'm just gonna get this one message, it's not a big deal. I've seen it in my mind, I've affirmed for it, it's done. And literally a few minutes later, I got the exact message, literally verbatim exact message I imagined. So that is an example of thought transmission, I would say, where the person I was trying to conform in the moment to say something specific, literally within minutes had this inspiration. The idea came into their mind to literally type out exactly what I thought. And obviously they didn't know, to them it was a natural idea to text that. And yeah, got exactly what I wanted. So just to summarize it, to my perspective, my understanding of it is that you are directly telling your SP in your mind, or thinking about how your SP is going to do something in your mind, and you're telling them, this is what you're going to do, this is how it's going to be, and then that concept and that idea and inspiration is instantly transmitted, just to use the same language, it's instantly transmitted to their mind. They get the thought, the visual, the inspiration in their own mind, and they act upon it. To me, that's what a successful application of thought transmission is. So hopefully that was clear enough for you guys. Hopefully it gave you perhaps a new concept to consider, look into. If you're interested on learning more, do read up on it. I think, like I said, it's very, very similar to simply visualizing or affirming or going on a rampage. I've applied rampages before that successfully manifested what I wanted in the moment. Like, for example, you know, social media stuff, getting contact from someone, getting a text message. Sometimes I like to go on a rampage for just a couple of minutes to get that, and it's worked. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's the clearest concept, and it's not particularly separate from your regular affirmations or rampaging or even visualizing. I would say they're all very much interconnected, so it's hard to separate them all in my own mind personally. But again, if you feel like maybe you have more information, more understanding of this concept than I do, please do leave a comment below. I'd love to learn more on it. But yeah, that was my understanding. I hope you guys enjoyed it and perhaps learned something new. Do thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye.